Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Just Seen podcast. And today, as you've seen from the title, we're going to be talking about belonging, like the sense of belonging or whatnot. Um, what I've learned is that we live in a world, we live in a culture that, of course, thrives on belonging, but more so, it's like that's how we're controlled, y'all. Um, and it is our sense of belonging that makes us fall into whatever subgroup, subset, whatever it is that we fall in. I specifically want to address this for, my community and my culture because Martin's burning house is almost to the ground now. And yes, I call it Martin's burning house because in some of his final words, he said, I feel I integrated my people into a burning house. And how did we end up walking into a house that was already on fire? Like the fact that he came to that reality and said, I feel like I'm integrating my people into a burning house. He conceptualized the house is already on fire and I'm taking all of my people in here. Now, granted, everybody got their own choices. Everybody got free will, but not really. Your sense of belonging is the way in which we're manipulated. It's the way in which we're controlled. Um, when you live in a culture, when you live in a world that has oppressed you in every single way, when we look at racism as we, deem it, racism is pretty much reached the peak and the zenith where every culture has a racial slur for black people. Every culture has some kind of negative connotation that they can use to address black people. You feel me? And it's very vile. Some of the words that they say, they cut very deep. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, no matter what it is, black people are still trying to find a sense of belonging. And I feel like personally, it comes from the context that we have not accepted the rejection from the world because we're still trying to find acceptance from the world, right? The acceptance from the world is what we're striving for. Everybody, please just love us. Please just love us. We got to love ourselves. We can't accept their rejection because we need their validation in some way, shape, or form. Like no oppressed person, no oppressed entity will ever receive in any way, shape, or form any ounce of validation from that which is oppressing them. That is stupid as fuck to even conceptualize that that's what we need and that's where we should go with this reality. But alas, we do. And it's tied to our senses of belonging. Half of the stuff that we affiliate with, half of the stuff that we really get involved with, it ain't got shit to do with shit that we really want to do or be with. We just want to be accepted. So we try to fit into a reality that does not accept us. And until we learn to accept the rejection that is put upon us, we won't grow. We won't grow at all. We won't thrive. We won't be successful. We will simply and merely have to survive because imagine spending every day of your life, the waking hours, trying to be accepted. Now, as a culture, we got to be accepted by everything. Like we're trying to be accepted by everything. We follow certain religions, what I'm saying, because we want to be accepted. We follow certain indoctrinations because we want to be accepted. And the whole time, the only acceptance that we need is the acceptance of their rejection. Something that I developed and something that I internalized a long time ago. I accepted the rejection of a lot of shit. It goes back to, a lot of shit that I developed, in childhood. But early on, I learned to accept rejection. One thing that I've learned is like, as a people, well, individually, a lot of people have difficulty with rejection, especially like I've learned early, like, from women and, like macking and shit back in the day when I was, hoeing shit. I learned how to embrace rejection. It was in accepting rejection that I was actually able to accept myself. And when I look at it from a bigger perspective, and the reason why we're having this episode is because I was talking to somebody and they was like, yo, you got such a not give a fuck attitude, such unfuckwittable attitude. And I was like, how you do it? Like, you just walk to the beat of your own drum. And I was like, cuz bitch is my drum and I like my drum. You feel me? And then I didn't realize how deep it went until I was talking to my big sister one time. She said, Ray, if there's nothing else you do in this world is you stand on your shit. If it's no, it's no. If it's yes, it's yes. And she was like, that's an amazing thing to have. She said, you've been like that since you were a kid. And I never thought about it until I, did some meditation on what she was talking about. And I actually went back in and, reviewed a lot of things. And I was like, yo, it's because I've been rejected so much. I just learned to accept it. You feel me? And I've learned that our people we haven't done that as a collective. And so we're still fighting for acceptance. And that's what the whole calamity of the world is. You feel me? The fight for acceptance is so real that Black women have heightened this BBL epidemics type shit. And they are trying, and this is how deep the acceptance goes, that you're trying to emulate to a T motherfuckers who are emulating you. That's a different level of not being able to accept or fighting for a sense of belonging. Like, you literally copying a motherfucker that's copying you. How did you even get to that point? It's because we haven't reached the point where we can accept the rejection of the people. So we're still fighting for acceptance. And in fighting for that acceptance, we are fighting for the position we already have, just a fake version of it. But before we dive heavy into that, be sure to follow me on Instagram at _just_scene_. Be sure to check out my website at IamJustSeen.com to get all things that are just seen. To all those who tip, donate, and sponsor the podcast, you are greatly appreciated. To all those who would like to tip, donate, and sponsor the podcast, you can do so by clicking the link in the description of your podcast. Not this episode, but the podcast itself. And as always, Cash App and PayPal are just fine. And as always, that's that for this and that's this for that. So we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back to belonging. How do I want to title this? Belonging. We're going to come back and we're going to title this Belonging, the Refusal to Accept Rejection. And don't forget to visit IamJustSeen.com. There, you can get all things Just Seen. You want to add the So Frail series to your library? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You want to learn how to master the markets for serious trading and investing? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You want to get your hands on some exclusive merch like tees, hoodies, coffee mugs, hats, bags? Visit IamJustSeen.com. Are you thinking about transitioning into the plant-based lifestyle? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You ever want to just chat with Seen about anything from simple advice to mentorship? Visit IamJustSeen.com. Anything and everything that is me, you can find at IamJustSeen.com. So take a quick peek into my world to see why being just seen is nothing less but always more. Because you never really know what you need until you see it, and you will never see it unless you visit IamJustSeen.com. All right. Welcome back. And without further ado, let's get started with this. And as I was saying, like, I had reached a point where I had learned to accept rejection, and I didn't realize I had done it at such a young age until my sister pointed it out. And as she was saying it, it was a crazy paradox how she pointed out, because she was a large reason for it. And I remember when we were young, right, we were roasting each other one day. It was like a group roast session, brother, sister, and me. We all roasted, but I'm the baby brother. So eventually, you're going to get jumped. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get jumped. And my sister, she would play both sides. You feel me? So it'll be like, she'll be on my brother's side at one point, and she'll be back on my side. But this particular moment was kind of like a game changer for me, in life as a whole, because, and this is one of the reasons why, if you ever heard the podcast, there's moments when I say shit about, if you're going to joke on somebody, don't joke on something that they can't change. That's not fair, because they were physically created like that. Like, they cannot change that. Like, that's not, so whatever happens after that, you got to eat. So when my sister, I think my brother, he made a joke and he was like, he called me Bubblicious, right? He was talking about my lips. And my sister, I found out earlier why she said this, but she was like, she told me, she said, tell him, at least the ladies ain't complaining. And so right after he said Bubblicious. I was like, yeah, at least the ladies ain't complaining. You feel me? I was like 5 or 6, some shit like that. I didn't really had no. Well, I did have ladies. Let me stop. Because I remember I used to run around the playground, having to sing Candy Rain to these girls and shit. I was always a hoe girl when I was a kid. But anyway, I channeled it differently. So anyway, but that's a side effect. So I was like, yeah, the ladies ain't complaining. The ladies ain't complaining. And so I internalized that. But that was the first time in my mind I accepted the rejection. Now, were my siblings rejecting me? Fuck no. They weren't really rejecting me. It's what siblings do. We were joking. We was all kids. We were young. You feel me? So I'm like 5. They're what, 12 and 10. So it's like, it's not really malicious intent. It's just being siblings, right? But as we got older, she once told me, she was like, you know what? I always loved your lips. She said, I wish I had your lips. She said, that's not fair. She said, it wasn't fair that, you know what I mean? It's like, how'd you get them or where they come from? Because you feel me? My dad ain't got lips like this. My mom ain't got lips like nope. I'm like, I be telling motherfuckers low key, I'm an anomaly. Like, I be trying to tell them, like, look, I was made this way because I wasn't like, I'm an amalgamation of something different. It's higher. And when you know the law of transmutable energy, your physical being manifests a way in which your soul is supposed to. You feel me? Outer reflection. So anyway, but that's beside the fact. But anywho, so it got me to that moment where I was accepting rejection. So from then on, I was able to be by myself. I just got used to it, you know. And then on top of that, like coming to terms with, I guess, at such a young age, you know, the absence of my dad, it was just like, it was what it was. I never had a point where I felt like he didn't, where, you know what I'm saying, it was like, yo, he didn't want me or whatever the case may be. I never reached that point where it bothered me. And I think it's because I didn't have a relationship with him when he was gone. So it wasn't really a hurtful thing to me, you know. But it got me thinking, because when I look at the culture, like everybody like, yo, bro, my sisters and my siblings, I made this story too. They always joke on this thing I say when I will. You feel me? And it was like, yo, you stood on your own like forever. No matter what it is. If you want to do it, you're gonna do it. If you don't, you don't. It was like, why? And it took me to come to terms with the reality. Yo, I've accepted rejection. I've learned to accept rejection. And this came from, you know, when I got older and I was talking to women and stuff like this. And I'm gonna get to how it relates to our culture, but I have to set the scene. So as you know, I would, you know, talk to women and stuff, and you know, no, boy, you ugly, boy, by now with them shoes on and shit. I'm like, all right, cool. It was what it was. You feel me? And like, I learned that everybody doesn't have that. I witnessed it for the first time when my big cousin was telling me a story about this woman who played him, or whatever. He was trying to mac with her and shit, because he always told me this, yo, be bummy whenever you're trying to get a number, because that lets you know if she really fuck with you or not. Okay, so I use that principle. I only fuck with the women who I can get when. Now, mind you, I still pull some bad ones. So it always made me wonder, like, if I was always on point when I got these numbers, how the fuck, like, who could I have gotten? Because I was, you know what I'm saying? But it was like when I got the, oh, nah, you this. Oh, nah, I ain't trying to. It was like, I accept the rejection, but my cousin didn't. I remember when I was hearing the story, you know, he hollered at Shorty, whatever, and he just literally went back, washed his hair up, got his hair braided and shit, bought a new outfit just so he can go to this woman and holler again and then cuss her out because she rejected him. He ain't know how to accept rejection. He ain't know how to accept rejection. And so I looked at it from that perspective as men. A lot of us, we can't physically accept rejection from women. You feel me? So we need acceptance. And I think that's why when women be like, why do men get so violent and everything like that? Because it's like, as a man, this is no excuse, but this is a reason, a valid reason. And it's not an excuse. But as a man, especially a black man, we have already internalized a certain reality of, if you're a black man and you live in quote unquote the white man's world, and you believe and perceive that you live in the white man's world, you accept that you are the bottom of the barrel. Whether that be unconsciously, subconsciously, or whatever, in some way within you, you internalize, yo, on the bottom of the barrel, whatever. So when your own woman rejects you, it's crazy. Because women, I know a lot of times, because I listen to all sides, but I know a lot of times women will say, yeah, black women are, you know, treated so wrong. And you are. I can't take that away. And the pain that we exhibit as black men that we inflict on y'all is because we aren't accepted by the other men of the world. Not realizing we're the greater man of the world, but that's beside the fact. We will never get to that point until we accept the rejection, because it's a part of understanding yourself, and part of knowing yourself is knowing your enemy and knowing why your enemy is your enemy. one of the key ways in which I learned to love myself is to learn why people hate me. Nobody really hated me, but a lot of people that whatever, it was a common theme of what motherfuckers really joked on. That's why you hear me say, I quote Drake all the time, jealousy is just love and hate at the same time. All of the people, and I remember I was in the 6th grade and this girl, like from the beginning of the school year, she always called me ugly. So I just kind of left her alone. Then it was like towards the end of the year, I found out she had a crush on me. That's why I was calling you ugly. That's why this and the third. I was like, well, you done fucked up, shorty, because you feel me? I've already accepted your rejection. I don't want you. We can't talk. No. No, like there's nothing that you can do for me at this point. You remember you called me ugly. You feel me? And I learned that a part of our culture is that when we are into somebody, we insult them, which is stupid as fuck. Like that's a whole different level of, and we expect somebody to accept that shit. You knew I was playing. How the fuck am I gonna know you playing when you say, hey, ugly, hey, stupid, hey, no, that's disrespectful. You feel me? But tying it back to us as black men, when we have already internalized that society is trying to push us down or whatever the case may be, our own women don't want us. You feel what I'm saying? And this is a side I know a lot of, you know what, black men treat black women. This is the reason. To know that when you are looked into, when a woman looks into your eyes, she's supposed to see herself, she don't. And she can critique everything about you. And this is why I said, like, you never get to a point where you pick on the things as afflictions of people that they can't change. And what I mean by that is, like, as black people, our noses, our eyes is oh shit, my bad, y'all. My bad. I'm literally just waking up to do this. But our noses, our eyes, our lips, our faces, our structures, everything. Like, if you understand the 3 races of people, you know what an Africoid person is. And this is a quick tangent, but this is one of the reasons why they say we came from Africa. A lot of people think they're talking about the continent. No, there's always double talk within the English language. They're saying you're from the Africoid stock. They triggered and associated this solid landmass to Africa, but they talk about the Africoid stock because there's only Africoid, Mongoloid, and Caucasoid people. Everything else is an ethnicity. It's not a race. It's not a race. There's only 3 races: the Africoid, the Mongoloid, and the Caucasoid. The Mongoloid is Asian. The Caucasoid is Caucasian. The Africoid is the black man. If you want to go biblical, if you want to go biblical with it, when was it Abraham or Noah and his 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth? This is why Ham was quote unquote cursed in the Bible. And the mark of Ham was black skin. People will be like, oh, they were all black. No, 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 no. It's an allegory for the 3 races of people. This is why the white people claim the Jews, because the Japhethites were the Asians, the Shemites were the Caucasians, and the Hamites were the African, because it was the genetic style. But I'm not going to go into that because that can go down a different rabbit hole. I'll save that for another day. But as, you know, black people, the world hates Africoid features. And why does the world hate Africoid features? Because the Africoid feature is the dominant feature. It erases all. Because this planet is supposed to be Africoid, not Mongoloid, not Caucasoid. But all 3 were placed here as gatekeepers or whatever the case may be for their respective regions. But they didn't get the entirety of the world. That's why when we look at today, being in the Aquarian age, coming into cosmic spring, is getting hotter. And motherfuckers like, they're fucking with the heat. I be fucking with it too, talking about his harp and shit. I be knowing what it is because I know a lot of people can't really handle this conversation because it's going to be hot for the next 18,000 years and only melanated people are going to survive. This is where the fight is. And this is why everybody, white people, are like, oh no, we gotta control the population. You can't control the population even if you try. White people are gone. Asian people are going, and black people are going to be here to stay. But that's a part of why you should love yourself, because that's the very reason why they hate us. That's the very reason why they hate us. And we haven't reached a point where we can accept that they reject us, because we don't know what they're rejecting us for. And what they're rejecting us for is not a bad thing on our part. It's a bad thing on their part. But they have internalized that we're the bad problem. And they give us that expression. So when we are trying to find our sense of belonging, we find it in everything we find it, we try to find it in everything, because everything rejects us. There's not a single thing on the face of this planet, except nature and animals, that actually respect black people. I be watching videos and shit or seeing videos about how, for example, the motherfucking that elephant that came back to that motherfucker funeral and shit. You feel me? But then you see videos of black people just actually taming elephants, and they're not taming them, they're just connecting with them, and the elephant is doing something. You see them walking with lions, but you see white people running from lions and pulling in cap. Like, all of the shit that they do is to cage nature in, but black people can free nature. The quote unquote zoos that we have was because we were able to go into that area and not be attacked by the animals. That shit's in the DNA for everybody else to, you know what I mean? And so that ties into the very power that we have. They fear us. They fear us. Hear me again. They fear us because they cannot understand how we are perfect, which makes it hard because we can't even understand that we perfect and see it. So we find a sense of belonging in all things that once were used to reject us. You feel me? And as black people, that rabbit hole runs deep. You know what I'm saying? From religion to everything. Like, think about this, yo. We actively trying to find a place in the religions that were used to enslave us. Like, it gets me because a lot of people, like, and finding that sense of belonging of self is crazy. When you realize that you're fighting for acceptance from your deity, and you don't even know who your deity is, and your deity was given to you by your enemy, and that's what you get caught up in a cage that you can't escape. I told y'all when I came back for season 8, I'm gonna be talking shit, and I'm not holding back no more. I'm tired. Like, I don't give a fuck at this point. Like, I always used to, for the first 7 seasons, I was really diluting a lot of this shit because, but at this point, I don't give a fuck no more. Like, y'all need to know this information. I don't give a fuck what your belief is. I don't give a fuck what none of that shit is anymore. Like, understand this shit and understand why it's being used against you and why you can't prosper with it. You feel me? But we succumb to the religion because we are trying to be accepted by white people. Didn't ever realize that shit because we just thought, oh, this is all of our shit. You feel me? I be telling people all the time, this is why I like studying the real history that is ours. Because I tell people all the time, they be like, we was kings and queens, but we wasn't Christians when we was kings and queens. We wasn't Muslims when we was kings and queens. You can't want the crown and still want what dethroned you. Ooh, that's a bar, my nigga. My nigga, that's a bar, dog. Hey, look, I'm gonna say that shit again. You can't rock your crown and still accept the things that dethroned you. It ain't gonna work. Your crown will never be elevated to your head as long as you are trying to be accepted by the things that dethroned you. You feel me? So we can't embrace our culture. So much so I mentioned this in one of the last episodes where I was like, we hate it so much. Like, we're trying to accept them and we dissociate ourselves so much that when they take our shit, we just let them have it. Because we're like, oh, y'all said it was bad anyway. And we're still trying to be accepted by you. So much so it translates into the way we approach each other from the education standpoint, the way we approach each other from the religious standpoint. You feel me? Everything is about how well we can be accepted. You feel me? This is how civil rights was a reality. The goal of civil rights was to be accepted by white people so much that we succumb to the reality that we will fight for the right to be civil. Wow. We fought for the right to be civil, and that was coming in because we were trying to be accepted by what was rejecting us rather than accepting their rejection. So much so that you would literally send your kid, like Malcolm X said it, and it was so real. He said, only a fool would allow his enemy to teach his children. And we line our babies up and send them to the slaughter every fucking day. And then we wonder why when we get older, we have a disdain for black people. I don't think people really understand why relationships don't work between black people. Like, they just be like, y'all want hood love because that shit lasts forever. Hood love really does last forever because a lot of times hood love is rooted from people who came from poverty and who didn't get educated. The higher up you go in academia, the more you hate black people. I don't give a fuck what you say. And as a motherfucker who's born again, who had to be unplugged from this matrix, I can attest to this shit. You start to find the black people who are closer to white than anything. And that's what the indoctrination was about. The education system was never about, motherfuckers be thinking you smart. Oh, I'm a well-educated person. Now you're a well-oiled machine that's going to do exactly what they need you to do because you're fighting for that acceptance. And you still don't get it. You still don't get it. We speak the way they speak. You feel me? We fuck with our hair. We do so much to ourselves to make them, yo, just accept us. And they still don't. But we don't accept the rejection and pull away from the shit and accept that, yo, I see why you hate me. It's gonna make, and the reason why you hate me is the reason why I love me. That's something I had to come to terms with. If you like, look at my physical features. I have dominant genetics written all the fuck over me. I got kinky ass fucking hair. You feel me? Big ass, thick ass lips, thick ass, wide ass nose. You feel me? Big almond shaped eyes and shit. Motherfuckers used to make me hate. They used to like. You feel me? I have this thing now where now my eyes stay open more, but I used to always keep my eyes low. These motherfuckers about you sleepy because you feel me? I was never sleepy. It's just y'all always picked on me having big eyes, but it never really registered, bro. You got immaculate proprioception. Like my peripherals is on point. Can't nothing slip past me. I could damn near. I didn't. You know what I'm saying? I could damn near see beyond my head, like past beyond, like looking straight. My peripheral vision is that raw. You feel me? Put into context how potent our peripheral vision is as Black people naturally, right? Michael Jordan, his peripheral vision was so. When they say no look passes, niggas can see. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. Watch the game. It wasn't a no look pass. You seen something, but you didn't see with your eyes. You saw with the peripheral vision that is tied to your deeper aspects of your genetics, which is the unseen that you can't see. You feel me? So this is why entertainment is what it is. Imagine being reduced to entertainment. The way in which you are accepted by them is being reduced by entertainment, down to entertainment, not intellect, not anything else. So back to the point. So it's like I had to learn to embrace my eyes, my nose, and shit. It's like the very thing that the world hates me. Like, and it's like my own people, like, boy, you got some big ass lips. And it was so crazy because by high school, so many dudes were saying it. Man, your lips so big, like nigga. I had learned to accept the rejection so much that I was like, and yet you're a man looking at my lips and your bitch want me to fuck her. Because the very same dudes that would be on some shit like, yo, they would keep reiterating that I had big lips. Their women loved them. I was in the notes that were being passed. The girl, you know what I'm saying? Like the fucking final pieces, those little conversation, girl, with you. I was always in the little ratings of the top motherfuckers in it. Like, you feel me? And I was in the 8th grade when a little discussion was made, and it was just like, yo, the paper got out. And it was like from like 1 to 10, right? The top 10 dudes or something like that in the 8th grade, or like in middle school as a whole or some shit like that. And I was in there. I think I was like number 7 or some shit like that. But supposedly it was like not ranked or whatever the case may be. I said, fuck that. Y'all gave a nigga 7. Yo, fuck y'all. But anyway, I was in the point that I'm making is I was in that top 10, but everybody else they had a reason to be in the top 10. Allegedly, I didn't like it. Was like, because motherfucker is literally, it would be like this. You had the bad boys on one, you had the bad boys and you had the athletes, and then you had me. I was the only one that was on the list that didn't do none of the shit that was quote unquote supposed to make you the top person. You feel me? And so the beat of my drum came because, again, it was in learning to accept rejection. I learned to love what people hated about me. And so it makes me see a deeper level of why my people can't be free and love themselves, because they're trying to be accepted by what rejects them, which is Caucasian people. They don't have these lips. They hate them. They love them, though. You feel me? I had so many white girls just love me when I was a kid. I'm glad I didn't get caught up in no crazy shit, but you feel me? I fought a white girl once. You feel me? I told those stories, whatever. But it was those features. They loved it. They loved it, but they verbally would act like they hate. And it's like our people was like, yo, how do you know, they can't accept it. So now this ties into, like I said, the PBL epidemic and all this other shit. Our people going to surgery, getting their noses done and shit, lips, and now what are they doing? They get lip injections. Oh my gosh, for motherfuckers to say they hated big lips for so long, and I feel good that I feel good that I'm on the side of the history where it's like, hey, I don't gotta go to the knife. You're trying to get your structure to where I was perfectly created. You feel me? But this is just the physical. Collectively, our people want to be accepted by them, so they try to conform into them. I've seen Lil Wayne has got nose surgery. You feel me? I don't even want to talk about Little Kim. Lil Kim's sole thing is they're like, yo, why you keep getting surgery? And she's like, because they're following the European standard. What is the European standard doing? They're emulating Black people. That's a different level of insanity, that you're trying to emulate what's emulating you, and you're fucking yourself up to try to compete and reach and look like what is trying to compete and reach like you, and they can. This is a crazy level of insanity, but this is derived from a sense of belonging and needing to belong to something. As Black people, we have to ask ourselves, what do we want to belong to? I don't think we ever sat and asked that question. So off rip, we tried to, like I said, our first deepest affiliation right now that we want to belong to is our religion. Not realizing that the reason why we want to tie into our religion so much, because the indoctrination is so heavy that we don't realize the inception of what happened. But we get so tied into wanting to get closer to our religion because it makes us civilized. It makes white people like us. You don't find it odd that when we look at every mission, every group of people that, that stood for the people, they had a religious in affiliation. The only people that didn't tie to a religious affiliation were the Black Panthers, and that's why they were listed as a terrorist organization. Regardless of what they believed inside of the Black Panther camp, they didn't lead with that. Huey Newton didn't come out standing as a Christian. You feel me? Saying that it's the Black Panther Party. Bobby Seale didn't come out standing as a Muslim saying this for the Black Panther Party. It was like, yo, we Black people. That was the problem. The Black Panther Party, they were a terrorist organization because they were the first group of people to accept the rejection, not the first group of people. Because we also did it, because Marcus Garvey also did it too. Those were the people, and the people that accepted the rejection, they were labeled as the terrorists. They were labeled as the anarchists. They were labeled like the very problematic people, because it was like, yo, fuck what we going through. Like, you know what I'm saying? Fuck what you try to belong to. Look at what you are. And so when we look at how the civil rights movement played out, that's why they put Martin Luther King as the face. They made sure they put a preacher as the face. This is why you still have Reverend Al Sharpton and Reverend Jesse Jackson. These niggas ain't no motherfucking reverends. They ain't shit. The pacifiers who can make you say, see, look at me. Look at me. They fuck with me because I belong, because I follow. Al Sharpton had a motherfucking perm. You feel me? All of these things were about how well you can the people that are accepted the most in their cultures are the people who reject people that reject the full totality of themselves a lot more. We be thinking, oh, well, the niggas supposed to be gang banging and shit, they hood and they real niggas and shit. They love real niggas. You know why? Because real niggas are rooted in the trauma caused by the world. I was speaking on this. I don't know if I said it in a podcast or it was just a tweet or a post. Said the realer the nigga, the more traumatized he is. Matter of fact, it was the podcast. Matter of fact, the first episode of season 8. The realer the nigga, the more traumatized he is. That's why they like real niggas. That's why the music is about real niggas. Most of our rappers, what are they? Junkies and gangsters who rap about prison culture and killing each other. They love that shit. You know why? Because you accept that we don't accept you. And you made it your art. So much so that you've internalized the reality within yourself that allows you to destroy your people. You don't even know that you think like us. You've been indoctrinated to think like us since you was in school. The most of the dropouts and shit, they realized that there was a problem with something. They were developing a reality that they hated themselves. You can't learn when somebody doesn't like you. You can't learn in a system that makes you, you know what I mean? You got to learn how to maneuver. When I was in the 4th grade, this was another instance when I had to accept racism and accept its rejection. I was in the 4th grade, y'all. Adult teachers, you feel me? Saying disrespectful, slick shit to me as a 10-year-old kid, 19-year-old kid. And I'm telling my mama, and this is no disrespect towards my mama because I love my mama to life, but she's a part of the sense of belonging. I watched my mama lose herself over the years. I watched my mama be pro-Black as when I was a kid, and she instilled that in me. But the higher up she went in academia, the more she lost herself. I was fortunate enough to be born, and this is a crazy paradox, but I was fortunate enough to be born when my mom had dropped out. So my mom was in her junior year when she met my dad. She dropped out of school or whatever the case may be. They had kids and shit and blah, blah, blah. You know, after I was born and shit, when we got to California, my mom, then she got back into church. Then she went to these different places. I watched her lose herself over the years as she got closer to the things that quote unquote were acceptable. You feel me? To the point where when I'm like, damn, this indoctrination is crazy now. But I'm not mad at it because you needed that sense. She was looking for the sense of belonging. And we find it in religion and education. You feel me? I'm going to have an episode on the education side a little bit more deeper, but this is one of the reasons why, tying it back, I've heard people say black men are the white men of the community. Well, black women are the white women. And see, here's what we don't understand, what we don't want to look at, because feminism has made us so taboo and we can't look at black women like that. But we got to keep it a hundo with you. If black men are the covert, the overt, then black women are the covert. And we be looking at black women get all of these degrees and accolades and shit, start thinking just like the vile, vindictive white women of before. They actually start looking down on their men. You feel me? And then the black men get to that same point where they start to view their women the same way white do. So we be looking like, it's just we hate each. No, we hate the black in each other because we have been whitewashed on the inside over a long period of time and don't realize what has happened to us. You know why? Because we wanted that sense of belonging. And this is why I tied in. The higher up I went in academia, the more I lost myself. The higher I assimilated into their culture, the more I realized I started disliking my people, which was hard because I loved what I saw in the mirror. So when I tell people I walked away, I accept rejection. That's a different level of reality for people. I've literally had people come to me and tell me, yo, you stupid for quitting school, where I can't see how you would have did that. I would have fit it. I don't know. That's the difference between I'm not fighting for anybody's acceptance. I don't give a fuck about anybody accepting me. You feel what I'm saying? I have accepted whoever rejects me. I have accepted the rejection of people because I realize that is something about myself that I should love. We are in a society that is run off of the mental health of people. You feel me? The more unhealthy a motherfucker is, the more the society functions, and niggas don't catch the shit. As somebody who day trades and invests, I understand that the markets are ran by psychology and shit, right? Which is almost a one-to-one thing, because when black people have the most buying power in this country, we fund this shit, but we don't own shit in this motherfucker. We got the most buying power, but we don't own a motherfucking thing. You feel me? And what happens when the money moves? We are primarily the focal points of this shit. It's no different than slavery. It's just a different form now. It's going to be crazy. I know, because I'm not a slave. I got a job. I got this, that, and the third. And you have no ownership. After integration, we lost all on. We ain't had no businesses no more, but our money still circulated. Is that not what happened with slavery? They got us. Whether they brought us over here on ships, or they captured the motherfuckers that was already on this land and made them forget that they was indigenous. What did they do? They leveraged our essence to create wealth for themselves. They're doing the same shit now. We control the reality because we control the fluidity of the money. No matter how we're looking at it, there's a time when racism was profitable. There's a time when racism isn't profitable. There's a whole bunch of things, but it's all tied to how black people are going to move their money. We fund everything, but we own nothing. You know why? Because we're looking for a sense of belonging from them. We really want to belong to a reality that they keep us out of. So at any given moment, you're going to play whatever game they need you to play to try to get into it, which is what? The education system. So we go in debt. And this is why I was talking about with the black women, being, because in addition to being the most educated, I don't take that away from you. Y'all are the most in debt. Y'all are the most in debt to be accepted. So yeah, you educated, but you ain't smart. No disrespect. I love y'all, but y'all know how I feel about education. Education don't do nothing but train you. So when we look at black women go higher and higher, they say the higher up I go, there's no more black men, because you want a black man, but you don't realize that you're a white woman on the inside. This is why you can't deal with other black men at that level, and other black men at that level can't deal with you, because as black men at that level, we, you know what I'm saying? And then when you add patriarchy and misogyny to the shit, that's why black men at that level are overt in their expressions, and black women are covert. It's different, but it's still the same shit, because on the inside you have been whitewashed through your sense of belonging. And I get it. You know what I'm saying? One thing that used to get me, and I tie this back to how, like I said, my mom, when she's gone up in academia, mom got several degrees and shit. You feel me? But when I wrote Hitting It Raw, she just kept saying these words. She was like, that's not professional. When I was young, she made me get my hair cut, because she was like, when you try to get a job, you're not going to be able to get one with long hair. I didn't know why. I'm just like, the fuck you mean? Like, what you mean I can't? Like, because I had braids, I had hair down past my shoulders. You feel me? And I never could put like, but my mom, she has natural hair. My mom's hair is long as fuck. But every day she keeps it in a small conservative bun. Conservative. That's what they call the shit. Conservative. Nah, it's acceptable. It's acceptable to who? Who accepts the shit? You feel me? What was it in 2021? They just outlawed that black women, you can't ban natural hair. Like that's a point of what I'm talking about. The sense of belonging. The law had to be written because who complained? Nobody was complaining. They just accepted the shit. They said, okay, look, let's do our hair this way. You feel me? Back with David Ruffin and them, they all had a little finger waves to make their shit. But then I remember, I forgot what I was watching. I think it was a unsung shit on Sam Cooke, and Smokey Robinson was like, yo, when Sam Cooke pretty much said forget the rules and started wearing his afro, we followed him. He said, because you notice all of us, there was a time when we all had the finger waves and you feel me, the suits and all of that stuff. And he was like, but between Sam Cooke, Marvin Gaye, when they embraced that natural street shit, because they let's keep it 100. They sung and shit, but they were street motherfuckers. Like you can look at them and tell like the gutter in them. Like you feel me? You feel me? What was it? What album was it? Marvin Gaye had a little the beanie on, a little scullies flipped up, and what we call the condom style now. Like we put the beanies on, we flip it up with the condom cut. You feel me? Marvin Gaye started that shit. You feel me? His beard was like, it was a little patchy and shit. It was, but he had it in his like, you feel me? They accepted the rejection and honored it, and they stayed true to themselves. You feel what I'm saying? So that is, I'm saying that because it's like we integrated and we got to a point where we kind of just lost it. And so that acceptance, like I said, ties back into, the conversation with my mom. And she, I watched her wear the same ponytail for years to work and everything because it's, but she would always tell me, like, when she read Hitting It Wrong, she's like, this ain't professional. I said, I don't give a fuck if white people like this or not. I didn't write this for them. I wrote this for my people to understand. Not so for Hitting It Raw. I said, I wrote this for my people to understand. Because right now they're going to go listen to the Migos. Right now they're going to go listen to somebody who's cussing and somebody who's saying some shit that, you feel me? Now, look, I'm not going to say I'm one of the pioneers of this shit. You feel me? I'm not going to say it. But what I have noticed in recent times since post-pandemic, I don't know if y'all caught it. You feel me? But a lot of people are using more profanity in their podcast content, in their expression. Nobody's literally using professionalism anymore. Nobody's behaving. I ain't gonna say I started the shit, but I was one of the front runners of the motherfucker. Before my podcast was even like the podcast, I had the videos on YouTube. Same shit. That started in like 2017. You feel me? Now watch the same motherfuckers who you wouldn't see cussing and shit, and like they're on a little shit. Like it's like, whoa. I like to think I was one of the pioneers for that shit. I pulled that shit out the ethers first. Whether motherfucking I was known and shit, but like that. But look at how the podcast space is going now. Profane. But they ain't got the profundity I got. So I'm not even tripping on that shit. But I'm using that to say the point now we're starting to get to an energy where we're accepting ourselves. But I was one of the first motherfuckers on that type time. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. You feel me? There's a lot of shit that I was the first on that I don't even get credit for. But you feel me? It is what it is. You feel me? It is what it is. But look at that. The point of that was that I didn't realize what was happening to me. I didn't realize what was happening in those moments. And I'm like, yo, what you mean it's not professional? Do you not see how much study went into this? Because it doesn't appeal to, I realized that I wasn't behaving. But then I realized that our culture is built on behaving in a way that white people feel good. And it's our sense of belonging that does this. And this is what creates a people pleaser. So like I said, first, we have our education system. The higher up you go in academia, you can tell the more whitewashed the motherfucker is. You feel me? It's like, it's weird because it's like, how did you get here? You feel me? And people were like, you don't know what I had to put down, what I had to sacrifice. You had to sacrifice your essence and yourself. To now we see that divide where it's like we have a generation of motherfuckers who literally do them. Elders don't like it because like for a whole time we had to shuck and jive and do a whole bunch of other shit so white people would not look at us wrong and y'all just doing whatever. You're right. We doing whatever now. Because a lot of us are doing whatever from the wrong side. We're not accepting the rejection. We're still fighting for acceptance. We're realizing you only accept us when we're doing destructive shit. All you keep hearing is get into the markets. But do you trade or do you invest? Should you do stocks, Forex, crypto, or NFTs? My personal answer is not a single one if you don't know how to read a chart. Without knowing how to read a chart, you end up giving all your money to those who do. Do you know what a candle is? Do you know the pocket of activity? Do you know the difference between market direction and market control? If you answer no at least once, you might want to learn how to read a chart first. Learning how to read a chart will let you know if you should trade or invest and if you should do stocks, forex, crypto, and or NFTs. It will also let you know if this is even for you or not. So visit IamJustSeen.com to learn how to read charts with my Master in the Market course, ebooks, and webinars today. The world is changing. The question is, will you adapt with it? And it's like there's no extreme, and all of it's based off of behavior. White people are only going to accept black people. The world is only going to accept black people if they're entertaining. That's it. There's no other part of that if they're entertaining. And now you have two forms of entertainment. Do you behave well or do you not behave at all? Because they like both forms of entertainment. Why do you think Denzel Washington, as many iconic roles as he had, like to cry one tear in Glory, that's a bad motherfucker. But he didn't get his shit until, like Jadakiss said, why Denzel had to go crooked before he took it. Why Holly had to let a white man papa to get an Oscar. Because your acceptance is what, you know what I mean? Like, we lost that essence. Remember when Will Smith and them boycotted the Grammys? Because they were like, y'all ain't gonna accept us. But what they didn't do is they still wanted that acceptance. So we're gonna boycott it to get your attention. We don't give a fuck about y'all, but we give a fuck about your money. So if y'all gonna boycott and it's gonna fuck with our ratings, you feel me? Fast forward. This is the crazy paradox because he boycotted the Grammys and then ended up in the Oscars, you know what I'm saying? He boycotted the ratings, the Grammys back in the day, and it fucked with the ratings of the Grammys, and they said, okay, we got to let them in the door, so we can keep that money going from them. And then in the Oscars and shit, he brought the ratings back. Nobody was watching that shit until he slapped Chris Rock. You feel me? But again, acceptance. We don't even want to be accepted by what naturally is us, but we want to be accepted by what hates us. So we're gonna do shit that we hate. When we want to be accepted by what hates us, we're gonna do shit that we hate. And in doing shit that we hate, we're going to destroy ourselves. Because you know how I always say, with love comes correction. Even in Soul 3, I went back and I wrote it again. But with hate comes incorrection. I know incorrection ain't a word, but it flows with the context of what love goes with. Self-hatred is a motherfucker. You literally destroy yourself. Lose every ounce of who the fuck you are. So much so that you can't even, I got family members right now who are now at a point where they're like, yo, remember you said this, that? They didn't believe me because I was a black face. Like now, I remember, I never forget it. I remember when I was in med school, I said something. I forgot what it was that I said, but I was completely lying. They believed me. After leaving med school and I stated something, they wouldn't fuck with me. It manifested itself in recent times. And they're like, why you ain't tell me? And I broke down the exact times every time I told them. And they were like, oh, yeah, oh, you know why? Because you couldn't trust it from me because I was no longer professional anymore. Y'all thought I couldn't cut the shit. No, I was able to cut the shit like butter. But I realized that I was fighting for the acceptance of some shit, and I wasn't about to do it anymore. So like I said, it makes it easy to be a people pleaser. And then leaving from the education system, this is how we get the religious side. Don't nobody believe in God, bro. I don't care what nobody say. The people that, oh, I believe in God, I love God, whatever the case may be, you fear hell and you want the acceptance from the people that gave you the religion. But you don't know that because you don't understand how deep the culture goes. You feel me? You don't understand how deep the culture goes because the indoctrination is so real that motherfuckers really still pray in Jesus' name. They would tell you there ain't no name higher than Jesus. History, knowledge, the information has come out that the nigga name won't Jesus. Even if he was real. You feel me? The nigga name wasn't Jesus. His name would have been Yahshua HaMashiach. I break that down in Soul 3 as well. Like, yo, that's cold as fucking Soul 3, how I broke that shit down. But I broke down what a Messiah was to 100% accuracy because of the history, right? So I tell people, I had a conversation with people about, the letter J didn't exist. So what you saying? I'm saying Jesus ain't exist. That wasn't his name. Well, I'm still gonna say in Jesus' name. Okay, so then when the Bible says you deny me in front of my father and deny me in front of man, I'm gonna deny you in front of my father. What better way to deny a motherfucker than not call him his real name? And I'm just gonna call you a name that I want to give you. You feel me? I remember I was working in Philly, and this woman would always mispronounce my name on purpose, and I would correct her, and I didn't realize it was on purpose. Till I was like, you know what? If you're not gonna say my name, I'm not addressing my in the movie Ali. Who was it that Muhammad Ali slapped? He said because he kept calling him Cassius Clay. He was like, you either gonna say my name standing up, or you gonna say my name sitting down. And he beat the shit out of that man, and the whole time he's like, what's my name? And he kept saying Cassius Clay. He was fucking him up. And then when he finally knocked him out, he was like, Ali. He said, damn right, nigga. You feel me? But that was a different level of pride within self. You feel me? Muhammad Ali accepted himself, and he Muhammad Ali is one of the first people that I can look back and say, okay, on the surface, he wasn't under the radar moving. He really accepted himself. He said, I'm pretty, I'm the greatest. He would tell you, like, you feel what I'm saying? But he embraced so much of what they rejected. I didn't even catch what he was doing. The fact that every time he would go on one of their videos and shit and talk about himself and shit, he'd be like, yeah, I'm pretty, I'm the greatest, nobody can beat me. It wasn't him speaking. And this is why when you really look at it, he never boxed white people like that. They made sure to put other black people in his face because it's like, we want your people to destroy you. Jack Johnson was another one, but Jack Johnson, because the era he was in, you still be fucking white women. But Ali was different. Ali was like, you feel me? I'm the greatest. And they would line up his people to try to box him and say beat him. And he would still win. But at the end of the day, he still had that respect because he accepted himself. He accepted their rejection, which made him love himself because he realized why they hated him. You feel me? For him, it wasn't a game. It wasn't no play shit. Like, nigga, fuck y'all. I'm pretty. I love my people. You know what I'm saying? He wore his afro. You feel me? He was in dashikis. He was in pictures in afro. Like, it was little shit like that. But when you start to realize how the culture changed, that's why a lot of people be covert with the shit now. And it's not, oh, you've been pro-black this whole time. Yes, you talked about all of this destruction and shit, and you've been, you got us. You feel me? So that is why I'm tying that to, the religious side too. I know it seemed like, well, how you go from Ali to that? Because Ali was Muslim. And even the Muslims, even the Christians, we both had a point where we don't know the inception of how we got to that point. There's no way in hell. You feel me? Because like I said, Jesus, deny me in front of man, I deny you in front of my father, and Jesus want his name, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But when we look at those two religions, both of them have the same atrocious inception between black people. There's a mass genocide, then there's a slavery, and then there's an acceptance of the religion. They called it the transatlantic slave trade when it came to Christianity, but it was the sub-Saharan or the trans-Saharan slave trade when it came to Islam. Study those. Please study those. You weren't naturally a Christian. You weren't naturally a Muslim. But those things are tameable realities that they permitted us to have to be accepted. So we don't understand that exception of thinking, I just believe this all my life. No, you already know how I feel about belief. But that's why belief is what it is, because nobody really likes. I don't give a fuck. Like, because there's no way that you can be creating the image of God or creating the image of Allah and not like what you see in the mirror. When you're creating the image of the deity and a human being can tell you what your standard of beauty is, you don't believe in that fucking deity, cuz. Like, you feel me? Like, you want some bullshit, bro. Sis, all y'all, I don't give a fuck what you say. If you are creating the image of the deity, you have to tame that image that you were created in for the appeasement of a motherfucker that don't like you. You're devil worshiping. I don't give a fuck what you say. It's why I say when the God of your enemy is your devil. When y'all share the same God, something's wrong. White people, what they call them, the messy pony. Let a black woman have a messy ponytail. Them shits be beautiful too. They be fine apples. But let a black woman have a messy ponytail. They're gonna slay her. You know why? Because white people don't find that presentable. Shit different. You feel me? And then, like I said, it ties back when I had to get my hair cut. You feel me? Let me tell you how poisonous it was. I love both of these women in life, but I gotta address the reality from the people. Not the title, but the people. You feel me? My mom will always say, you're gonna have to get your hair cut when you know, become a doctor, whatever the case may be, because that's not professional. So much so my mama said it so much that my grandma was the reason why I ended up getting my hair cut, because she came down one year. And I guess her and my mama talked about it. She was like, why he growing his hair out or whatever? She's like, that's what he want to do, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it's, you know, little talk. My grandma, that whole time she was on vacation, she told me, like she was there, she said, you know, you would look so much more handsome with a haircut. You would look so much more handsome with a haircut. Eventually I broke and said, fuck it, and got a haircut. Didn't really know what the fuck was happening to me at that time, because I didn't know why they were saying it. My grandma had a relaxer. My grandma's hair stayed, and these are the two dynamics. My grandma's hair stayed relaxed. My mama's hair stayed in a conservative ponytail. My mama wouldn't get a relaxer. She wouldn't, because she knew she didn't want those chemicals in there, but she would not wear her hair natural. Like, my mom's hair is so fucking beautiful and long. That shit is amazing. Like, you feel me? And I had her hair. Y'all seen the post I made. I was like, I inherited my mama 4C hair, but I got my dad paired and baldness and shit. Like, nigga, fuck me up, bruh. So, like, you feel me? But anyway, the point that I was making with that was that, like, when I look back over the time, it's like, this is the behavior of how white people are going to see you presentable. So we dress away that they want, like the power suit. Like, when I was watching Money Talk. This is one of my favorite movies, yo. Bun be laughing because she be like, yo, you this. She like, you used to quote this movie all the time and shit. Like, this, you know, it's one of your favorites. But in it, Chris Tucker and Charlie Sheen have a scene where Chris Tucker, he's like, yo, put some clothes on, whatever. And so Chris Tucker is like, he's coming out. He said, you had to pick that suit. He was like, that's my favorite fucking suit you're wearing. He said, I look fly, don't I? He was like, he said, that's my favorite fucking suit. He said, don't be mad because I look better than you in your own shit. You feel me? That's what it is. When we look at, I've noticed this, and it's like I said, black women, oh, I love me a man with a good suit on. Why? We didn't create that attire. We didn't create the image of that attire. What do you really like? You feel me? Destiny's Child in the song Soldier. We like the dark close cuts with dark Caesar, some shit with the deep waves. Think about this. The most iconic haircut in the black community is named after the Roman Empire. The Caesar. A lot of niggas don't even know why the haircut is called a Caesar. For Julie, we've made the Caesar more faint. Like, when I had waves and shit, there's no cap, no bullshit. You can ask the barbers and shit. When I was when I was in high school, so I was the wave king in my city. In my city, I was the wave king. Now, this was the barbershop we went to. This was the barbershop. It's like, you know how you got, like, in our communities, you got that one barbershop. It's like, yo, this is where everybody be at. So, you know, if you got your haircut from Geno's, yeah, you feel me? You had your, like, most of the, you had Geno's as the entire barbershop, but in Geno's, you had Skip, who was the head, like, on the chair. Skip cut all the dope boys. I didn't know Skip had cut all the dope boys until I started going to Geno's. And, you know, I only started going to Geno's because my brother and my cousins were going to Geno's. Like, yo, you ain't no Geno's, nigga. You ain't no real nigga. You feel me? So Skip would cut all the dope boys. And I would go in there. It's like, yo, all the dope, like, because my brother knew all trappers and shit. So they'd be like, yo, schedule it. It was either Skip or Tay. Tay was the backup. It was Skip first. And it was like, you feel me? I was like, yo, what is it? You know what I mean? But the point of that was that I was the wave king, but it was based off of me having a Caesar. That was my cut. They were like, you got the Caesar with the waves. That's what they called it. You feel me? If I would have been hip to it, I'd say, yo, this ain't a Caesar, bro. This the scene now, bro. I don't give a fuck what you say, bro. Ain't nobody. Like, this is my cut, nigga. You feel me? But we had the Julius Caesar haircut. Why? Why? And then, you know, when you look at, all right, our facial hair, it grows beautifully. I got a beard now, so I know it goes beautifully. It's just luxurious. But in academia, you have to keep everything clean shaven, so they say. Why? Why? This shit naturally grows out of your head, and you have to naturally impede all the shit. And like I said, the messy ponytails. I've seen people say shit like black hair is not professional or whatever the case may be. And then I've seen some of these white, like, I've had college professors. Now I'm at a HBCU. I've had college professors just show up. Hair, like, these are male teachers. I'm like, you didn't think to got the little ponytails and shit. And it's just like, yo, how come they can get it? Because this is their world. And we're trying to be a part of their world. You feel me? And so we get into that space, but it ties heavily. Not only does it come into the educational space, like I said, it ties back into the religious space, because both of these aspects are where, as Black people, we're finding our sense of belonging. We want to belong, so we're going to do what they told us makes us belong. So the integration is a combination of those two things. Integration is the reality of us trying to belong both to the religion and the education system at the same time. Because when you were like, I don't like, it makes me like, I'm like, y'all, they wouldn't let us read and write, but they let us read the Bible. I'm sorry, like, I can't figure out how that's good for us if they wouldn't let us read anything else but this. Then you watch the Nat Turner movie and shit, and niggas still wasn't clicking with the shit. They really wasn't clicking. Like, yo, Nat Turner was it? It's more about how they used the religion to captivate us by telling us that it was real and using the person who can quote it the best. He ain't got to understand the shit. But when Nat Turner really started understanding it, that's when he was able to liberate his people. Fast forward to today, you got a motherfucker like me who motherfuckers are like, yo, everybody got their own beliefs. It's different than just believing. I understand this shit. This is why nobody can go back and forth with me and still walk out clean. And I don't mean it from a petty perspective, but it's like I've accepted the rejection. By accepting rejection, I've seen what parts of that Bible, what parts of the Quran were purposely designed to make us hate ourselves more. The fact that we talk about King Solomon being one of the greatest people ever, whatever the case may be, King Solomon, Moses, there's a couple people who had Black women they didn't like. Literally, Moses' wife Ephraim, I think that's her name, Ephraim, because she was an Ethiopian. And his siblings hated him for it. They said, God don't like that because you dating an Ethiopian. Motherfuckers try to convince me, no, it's because of the land. When you believe that everything in this book was about Black people, no, this is an anti-Black book. He hated Moses' wife. She was an Ethiopian. She was Black. You know why? Because the Ethiopians, as they said, came from the lineage of Ham. Hamites, Canaanites, they were cursed. They were the Black people. I told you I'm cold with this shit. Don't ever question where I'm going, right? Then you look at King Solomon. He has a woman, his wife. She says, I am Black but comely. See, this is why you got to understand words too, because we don't use comely these days. But what she said in that verse was, I'm dark skinned but cute. So we're looking for the sense of belonging. It's not funny. Don't laugh. I'm being serious right now. We're looking for the sense of belonging. We're trying to find it in the very thing that's subjugating us. People think I got a problem. I don't give a fuck if you believe in religion or not. I don't care. Understand what the fuck you believe in. You're calling on a name that's not real. What do you think is going to happen? You're literally called, like, I don't get it. I'm like, yo, how can we serve the same God as the motherfuckers we call the devil? I'm still here. I just need y'all to register that. Sometimes shit got to process. We would call white people the devils and say they do some devilish shit and serve the same religion as them. White people aren't getting punished for the atrocities that they did. We are. And we did nothing but try to live right. You know why? Because it goes back to what I was saying. We want to be we came from kings and queens, and we want Christians when we was kings and queens. We want Muslim when we was kings and queens. We practice African spirituality, which was the balance of the universe. I got an episode on the 12 laws of the universe that is codified within African spirituality. You feel me? A lot of shit that I broke down is so frail is, you know, shit from our real systems. You feel me? But we fear it. It's crazy how, as Black people, we are afraid of voodoo. We think voodoo is devil worship, but voodoo is the only spiritual system that was used to liberate Black people from oppression. Go figure. The very thing that you think is the scariest is the only thing that has liberated our people. Why do you think it's scary? Who do you have to be thinking like to think that something that liberated somebody who looks like you is a scary thing? It's crazy. It's crazy. So yes, in context, voodoo is devil worship. In context, uh hoodoo, voodoo, Kemetic iconographies, African in context, African spirituality is devil worship. And you know why? Because it goes against your enemy. Because remember, the God of your enemy is your devil. So if your enemy calls your spiritual system devil worship, that's because that is really your God. But you have fought yourself to be aligned with the God of your enemy for the sense of belonging. And black people can't understand why we in this loop of insanity. Why won't it stop? Why won't God intervene? Like God can come back at any given time. There's a lot of people question this. You don't need to question your deity. You need to question your connection with the deity. Because first you got to understand what a deity is. It's the highest conceptualization of the mind. That's what a deity is. That's what a God is. The highest conceptualization of your mind. Who conceptualized the highest point of your mind? I'll answer that. Your oppressor. When you chose to integrate. You feel me? When you chose to accept their religion, I get it. You had to accept it, or they wasn't going to stop killing us or torturing us. And they had to break us into the like I said, read the book, How to Turn a Negro into a Christian. Nigga, like the fuck. And here's what's crazy about that too, because How to Turn a Negro into a Christian, because what they were calling Negroes were the indigenous people. Everybody didn't come from Africa, but now it ties back into the biggest thing that I was talking about the Africoid. They limit it to a landmass so you don't focus on the genetics. I know this because I've been on the other side. Not only on the other side, in the other side, maneuvering well. I ran genetics. That's why I don't argue with people about certain shit. Like I know a lot, and my mind is free enough to see things that are outside of the behavioral scope, but I'm able to see the reality, right? So this is why I make you focus on the landmass and not the genetics. So literally, y'all have taken tests from ancestry.com to tell you what landmass you came from, but didn't tell you not one time that you have fully dominant genetics. And your genetics erase everything because you come from the Africoid stock. So what they're going to tell you is, oh, some of this is from Benin, some of this is from East Nigeria and shit. Like they tell you shit and they give you, okay, we're gonna give you some continents. Yo, guess what? I'm this, that, and the third. I got a little bit of this in me. I got a little bit of that in me. It's because you're the Africoid stock, genius. Everybody was asking me, oh, you gonna take a test? Nope. For one, they done sold all your DNA off. They needed it. Now the whole month. Let me tell you something about DNA and PCR, mRNA. A lot of the shit ties into COVID shit too. Niggas thought I was reaching because niggas don't reach as far as I go. You feel me? But anyway, when I was talking about, COVID and shit and, it being tied to what it was tied to, and the vaccines and mRNA technology and PCR, they was taking DNA. There was a reason why they was using nasal swabs because they was getting moist, wet palate shit. Like, you feel me? So they can multiply the DNA. PCR is a process that turns one single strand DNA into two, but multiplies it by 2 to the 30 power. I talk about that in one of the episodes on that. It's like season 5 maybe or some shit like that. I don't know. Whenever the pandemic popped off, go back to that time frame. So I'm telling people this, right? So now GlaxoSmithKline done bought Ancestry and Me or 23andMe, whatever. It bought one of them. It bought the whole DNA template. Where does most of black people go to? We in the Ancestry.com, 23andMe, whatever. Y'all shit is in a database. They have your DNA forever now. They can start preserving themselves with your genetic template. So when they telling you, you feel me? Oh, you're from this landmass. You from this landmass. No. You're from the Africoid stock of dominant genetics. Look up Mendelian pea plants. You feel me? That's what they call them, Mendelian genetics. It's not Mendelian genetics. He studied some shit that we already knew because in our ancestry, we had a concept. In our schooling system, this is what they call the mysteries. The mystery system is the study of self. History is the study of another motherfucker, but mystery is the study of yourself. So in our African mystery systems, we had an actual science called melanophoros. Now, when you look at etymology, this is a different level of etymology because they try to keep this under wraps, but this translates differently. But the aphoros, Pharaoh is a high mind. People don't look at that point. The root word is pharaoh, pharos. It comes from the high mind. The melanophoros is the high mind of melanin. So they're teaching you how to reach the highest mind of melanin. That will be melanophoros, if I'm not mistaken, was the 4th tier. Now, mind you, they had 7 tiers of learning. What the Greeks stole was literally only the 1st tier of learning. The world is operable off of only what will be classified our ancestors. What's running the world right now that we're getting PhDs and shit in and thinking we're something is literally classified as elementary school to what our ancestors were. So niggas be thinking I'm being funny when I say we're mentally retarded compared to our ancestors. So don't give me that bullshit about, oh, we came from kings and queens. No, no, no. If we came from kings and queens, we have fallen horribly, horribly, because we are only running off of the first level. In the first level, that's when they study the elements. The kids studied science so well that they knew the elements. You know how Dr. Staby always talks about our body has, CMOS has 92 of the 102 elements that our body needs. The 102 elements are the real elements, not the anthanide and lactanide series, but the actual real. See, I'm cold with this shit. But the real elements of the periodic table, which are the science. Our ancestors knew it. And they taught it to their kids. Imagine being a grown ass adult saying, I don't like chemistry. I struggle in chemistry. And a 7-year-old motherfucker from back in the day. And when I say back in the day, our ancestral days, they were learning this shit in elementary school. Organic chemistry, they was learning that shit in the 5th grade, cuz. Yo, our ancestors were learning organic chemistry in like the 5th grade, bro. And we struggle with basic mathematics now. Because we can't get it anymore. You know why? Because they shut our right side of our brain down. Our ancestors taught duality through the right side of our brain. I tell people all the time, a genius isn't what you are, it's what you have, you tap into. And how to tap into your genius is using both your left brain and your right brain with the 7 intelligences that you run through your body. I broke that shit down in Soulful 3-2. I gave you, you feel me? I gave you the codes, y'all. I don't give a fuck how complex you think they are. I gave them to you. You'll get them one day if you decide to get them. You feel what I'm saying? But you can access the full totality of your mind right fucking now. And I've shown you how to do it. All you have to do is learn how to use the right side and the left side of your brain concurrently with the 7 intelligences that you have. The my skill, the music, the interpersonal, the spatial, the kinesthetic, the interpersonal, the logistics, and the language. You can use that. You use those 7 intelligences from the structured and the creative side, the concrete. Read so far, I put all of that shit in there. All of it. Because now people are like, yo, how do you do what you do? I'm just tapping into what the ancestors tapped into. This is why they don't want you to go back to the mystery. This is why they want you to understand history and not your story, which is the mystery systems. But anyway, they tell you that shit is demonic. Right? Again, another point, when you look at the word demon and you go back to the Greek and what it means, it derives from daemon, which means creative energy. Wow. Think about it. When they tell you that something is demonic, it's really creative. It's weird. It's weird. But this is all the things that we accept. We accept only what they tell us is permissible. You feel me? Even with the Quran, even with the Bible. I mean, it's like all of this shit. You serve a deity that's not you. You feel me? That's how you're able to defy reality, by using your genius, your creative energy. You feel me? But they made us ashamed of it because of who we really are has been diluted and tampered so much because we're trying to find a sense of belonging. Imagine trying to belong to something that is weaker than you. Because now when we take it back to the genetics, we're the Africoid stock. Caucasians are the Caucasoid stock. And the other only stock is the Mongoloid. When you think about, oh, we got Hindus, we got Indians, Hebrews, all this, that shit don't matter. Hebrew is a language. You feel me? It's not a being. It's not a people. It's just like in today's time, how we be calling Hispanic people Spanish. You can't call them a language, nigga. But yet we want to be a language. I'm Hebrew. Shut your stupid ass up. That's how you don't know shit. But then when you break down Hebrew and you get down to the core of the alphabet and you understand the ties to the tree of life. And again, in Soulful 3, I showed you how to do that shit. Everything your religion was supposed to teach you, I showed you. And I'm not the religious motherfucker. But niggas called me the devil worshiper. Go figure. How I know how to use a religion rather than believing in one. Because in believing in one, all you can do is follow the tenets of what they tell you to believe in. So when it comes to black people, what do we follow that our religion says? Every part of every religion that we follow tells us the same shit, that we're cursed. We're supposed to be cursed and we're going to get our blessing in afterlife. Everybody else get their heaven on earth. We watching their whole heaven on earth and we get our blessings when we die, nigga. And nobody can validate whether or not we got those blessings or not. We didn't. And we won't. For one, because heaven's not a real place. So imagine behaving to live a life to go to a place that doesn't exist. And even if it did exist, you can't get in. How you gonna hate from outside the club when you can't get in? Do you know why? Because if you actually read the book, you would know that there's only 144,000 seats in it. Heaven has a population, my nigga. It's 12,000 spaces per tribe of Israel. But then when you understand the allegorical principle of it, you know the 12 tribes represent the 12 zodiac. Ugh, we're talking about, we ain't diving that deep yet today, Scene. We're not diving that deep yet today. But in those, heaven has a population of 144,000. So you live a life expecting to, you feel me? Look, more, bro, sis, all y'all, more than 144,000 Africans. When I say African, now understand that I'm speaking Africoid genetics. I'm not speaking landmass. You feel me? More than 144,000 Africoid people have died within the first year of the 500 years of captivity we have heaven for, bro. We not getting in that motherfucker. If anybody deserved to have a spot, I would think that they have. Anybody who was ripped open by a horse from both sides during a slavery moment, they got their spot. I'm sorry. There's no way I can argue that they don't. Anybody who had a baby cut out of their stomach and stepped on in front of them while they hung from a tree, they got into heaven. Anybody who's got their head cut off because they wouldn't accept the religion and shit, they into heaven, bro. That 144,000 filled up quick. It is. Go read the book. That's all you gotta do. Read the book. Shit crazy. But this is what we're fighting for a sense of belonging. To belonging to the very things that destroy us. They break us mentally, break us spiritually, break us psychologically, break us physically. You feel me? When I tell people that the world is run on toxic femininity and not masculinity, they look at me like I'm crazy. There's no analysis and deconstruction in the world. This is why even in the science community, all they do is tell you to research. Go back and look at the same shit again. And they're like, oh, you do research to try to come to a new conclusion. No, your conclusion is predicated upon the teacher and predicated upon what they will allow you to research. And then in the research, you cannot go beyond what your peers can review. So think about that shit, right? This literally shows how the right brain is shut down, because your creative side, nobody can review creativity. My peer can't review creativity, but now when I put creativity with the intellect that I have obtained, how do you peer review that shit? And if you are my peer, that means you are my equal, which means you have no reason and no merit to critique my shit, which means that our shit has to stay no higher than the level that we can reach because it's peer reviewed. It's a mind fuck, yo. It's a real mind fuck. You know what I'm saying? That's why a lot of people are shocked they were shocked with the way in which I did it. So for hitting it raw. And then tying it back to my mom saying it's not professional. No. It can't be peer reviewed, because my peers are going to say, oh, nah, this ain't professional. You cussing too much. But my peers cannot deny the fact that I take in my mind and I was able to break down and reconnect some shit that they can't do. I didn't have to research. The search was already done. I reconstituted. That's what they don't teach you in the science community. You do years of extensive research. Think about it. They've been researching cancer for a long time. Dr. Sebi came on the line and told you what it was in the snap of his fingers. And what they do to Dr. Sebi? Rest his soul, but he did what he was supposed to do. But you feel what I'm saying? What they do to Dr. Sebi? Because he didn't have to research. He reconstituted. That was masculinity analysis and deconstruction. Dr. Sebi went in and said, you know what? It's mucus. That's it. It's acidity. Your body produces that. How much research did it take to actually get to that point? We researching for cancer. You don't have to research for cancer. It does the same shit. You feel me? And then you use the words that motherfuckers don't get. They'll tell a motherfucker you got metastatic stage 4 cancer. You're gonna die. Niggas don't know what metastatic is. Metastatic means it's moving through your body. Static movement. Meta, above. It's just, I told you, man, you learn this Latin language, bro. I'm cold with these words, but it's all written right there. So when you go in and you get the quote unquote biopsies, now here's how the body works. You feel me? I'm gonna get back to the main point, but this ties in. So when you look at how the body works and shit, when you actually have cancer, that means your body has developed the polyp because it has encapsulated the outgrowth that's uncontrollable. What do the doctors do? They go in and cut the shit and then it moves through your body. That's what makes it metastatic. But again, our senses of belonging, this ties into our sense of belonging, won't even let us override that. Like, don't say that. I have people saying, yo, you can't talk like that. Why do you think I unplugged from the shit? I knew I wouldn't be able to talk my shit. I knew I would not be able to talk shit. The most they could do now is call me crazy. You know why? Because I don't research that shit. I reconstitute the shit that's already been there. I don't got to go back into that space, but I learned to accept the rejection that was already given. So now I'm bringing it back full circle. When we look at how, as a people, what are we trying to belong to? We're trying to belong to our self-destruction. Religion kills us spiritually. Like in the beginning, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. Do you follow religious doctrine? Yeah, you religious then. Nigga, no, I'm not. What book do you read? I read this book all the time, every day. I'm not religious though. But you following the principles in the religion, right? Nigga, you religious. The fuck? That's what makes you religious. You're not spiritual. Spirituality has a whole different context to it. Religion is about behavior. Spirituality is about being. It's two totally different things. Your religion teaches you how to behave. Ooh, religion teaches you how to behave as a means to get to heaven. As a means to get to heaven and avoid hell. Spirituality teaches you how to walk the line to have heaven and hell at your will. You feel me? Think about this, yo. Like, you're created in the image of a deity, right? And you have to follow the deity's will. Not realizing that if I'm creating the deity's image, then my will is that deity's will. But you won't follow your own will. Motherfuckers is really fucking up with reality because they can't follow their own will. You feel me? Because they have to follow the will of another deity. And that's what makes this shit scary. Because the real will that you're following is the will that is going to get you accepted by the very being that hates your fucking guts. And don't forget to check out Cafe Clothing, formerly Just Scenes merch. Get all of your intricate designs crafted specifically for the melanated being to develop a positive imagery within self and to have a little bit of fun in the process. From the peace, love, knowledge, and freedom to the dead horses and water designs, all the styles are crafted for the imagery to make you feel as you're supposed to feel. Because as I always say, the best way to fit in is to stand out. And what better way to stand out than with your exclusive styles from Cafe Clothing. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end it there because I got to get ready for this eWeek community and shit. Y'all sign up if you ain't in it, yo. Click the link in the bio. This ain't social media. Visit IamJustSeen.com and go to Master the Market. Join Inflate with Inflation community. But yeah, as Black people, we have to learn to accept rejection because a lot of the things that we have affiliated with the most are the things we need to reject the most. Now, when I say give up religious context, I never said don't understand the higher source and the higher power. When I say give up the education system, I never said do not stop educating yourself. I never said that. Where y'all got that from and the fact that y'all have equated those things as synonymous, that's your fault. That's a part of what your enemy and who is rejecting you wants you to do. If you give up religion, you're gonna be wild. How in the fuck do we have 600,000 years of civilization and suddenly our fall didn't happen until we accepted religion, which means that every spiritual system that we fucked with kept us alive, right? When we were actually learning and studying and shit, multi-geniuses, we were spitting them motherfuckers out like crack. And now you can't get a single genius. It's you struggle to make a single genius. Imhotep was a multi-genius who was taught by who? That's why I hate that how their history presents it, because like, oh, Imhotep was the first multi-genius. No, the first multi-genius y'all recorded. Who taught him? As somebody right now who is in the embodiment of a multi-genius, nobody can take that away from me. Nobody can take that away from me. That's one thing that I try to keep low, but I'm definitely a multi-genius. And multi-genius is not a state of being. It is using the energy that you have in multiple ways. You feel me? I'm a multi-genius, like for real. But I learned that multi-geniuses weren't few and far in between for our ancestors. They were actually very common. Now, what do we call them? Oh, I'm a double major. I'm this, that, and the third. But you follow it within the confines. You don't even use your full mind. Imagine you don't even learn critical thinking until your first year in college and you're going to double major, which means the creativity ain't there. Your whole right side is already shut down. That's why critical thinking is hard for motherfuckers. You feel me? I reactivated the right side of my brain and I use it well with my left side, and I use all 7 intelligences when I'm trying to learn. I showed you how to do it. Like, one thing that we're talking about in these conversations with masculinity is that, and another thing, I would not have been able to truly understand masculinity if I wasn't able to accept the rejection of what they're trying to put on me as masculinity. You feel me? But when I look at how we as men, as people, as everything, we have been trying to belong so much that now we act like the white men that we hate. We treat our women like the very white man. The higher up we go, our women do the same shit to us because our sense of belonging. When we tie into the religion, same shit. We look down condescendingly on people, because they don't believe. You don't understand. So where are we going from that? You feel me? And that's what I try to tell people. You got to get to the point of understanding. As long as you follow a sense of belonging and you need that sense of belonging, you can't reach understanding. Because you have to have faith or fear of what you're trying to belong into. And if you understand how I broke down the mind, belief, knowledge, wisdom, understanding, belief, you got to break through cognitive dissonance. You can't get through the wall of cognitive dissonance if you are trying to belong to something that is designed to oppress you. You're only going to have faith in what it says. So that's why I'm going to tell people, you don't really understand half the shit you're talking about. You trust the source that gave it to you. This is why every so often when the truth comes out about a pastor, whatever the case may be, a motherfucker just go to another church. It's because you trust the person. You're not paying attention to the information. You're not realizing what this information is actually doing to you. You feel me? It's fucking your whole world up, fucking your whole reality up, fucking your whole mind up. And I'm not about to be a person who's going to keep playing around with it like this ain't poisoning my people. This is the last shackle we got to get rid of before we can be free. We'll never be free as long as we still bound to religion. We'll never be free as long as we still bound to white supremacy. Yes, we're trying to fit into white supremacy. That is where our acceptance come in. We can't say we hate white supremacy and then want to assimilate into everything that is white supremacy. Like, you feel me? They tamed us. You feel me? It sucks to see that, you know what I'm saying? Sisters can't, wear their hair the way they want to. You know what I mean? Brothers can't speak. Brothers can't. They wonder why we have. Well, what happened to the black man voice? Why it ain't as deep as it used to be, or whatever the case may be? Because we can't speak with that projection anymore. Not even from a genetics perspective, like they fucked up the water or some shit like that. A deep voice is muscle memory. It's literally muscle memory. Your vocal cords, you have to be able to speak from your diaphragm. We speak from a higher nasally perspective, and the muscle memory has gotten there. So our voices, we don't have a dad that we can pattern. We have a dad, but we don't pattern according to, the baritone of the deep shit that comes from the diaphragm. Because when we're in those spaces, in order to sound and articulate, our vocal patterns there's certain words that you can't say at a base level. You have to raise your octave up. So now the English language, the English language largely allows us to speak from that higher octave. Even our women have deeper voices, and we act like, you feel me? Like, what happened to the women that talk like little girls who didn't hit puberty yet? Women have a maturity phase too, and their voices get deeper too, because it's our culture. You feel me? But our women, they talk higher. We both do, because this is the structure of what has to happen when we're in academia. We talk like the people that are around us the most. But the men with the most deeper voices, they're not the ones who went to the magnet schools. They're not the ones who went to the private schools. I paid for a good education. You feel me? Because when they're around all white people, they match the vocal patterns of the white people. When they're around black people, they match the vocal patterns of the black people. And that muscle memory goes into your vocal cords, and that's how you speak. It's easily done, but niggas don't see it because they think, you know what I mean? This is one of the basic pieces of it. So they're like, yo, why don't black? Because it's like when you go higher up in academia, I noticed that shit about myself. Like, why the fuck I talk? Like, why my shit so damn nasally, bro? I be hearing it on a podcast. I ain't even gonna hold you. Sometimes it get me tight. Like, depending on the episode, depending on how I was feeling and shit, it be getting me tight. I be like, damn, man, my voice should be deeper than this, bro. It really should. And it was deeper than this when I was younger, but then it's like, as I got older, you know what I'm saying? It's like my voice sounded threatening. It's like, yo, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, that's too much bass in your voice. You heard it growing up. It's too much bass in your voice. What you mean it's too much bass in your voice when my voice is supposed to? So you start talking in that higher tonal pattern. This is why when we look at, the face of, what's going on right now, the homosexual man has that. They talk just like white dudes. The homosexual man talk like a straight white dude when he's proper. Think about it. White dudes can make their voice deeper if they tried. You feel me? But that's what we got to match now. We try to put soul into it. You can't. You got to dilute it. You feel me? The vibrato's gone because the muscle memory ain't there no more. The muscle memory for a deep voice is no longer there. Because we speak from when you're trying to sound and articulate according to how your patterns change. But this goes to our sense of belonging. We're trying to belong to what really hates us, what despises us, what demonizes us, what doesn't even want us to be great anymore. And we're going to continue the cycle because we're doing it to our babies. We're raised the same way that, you feel me, cycle got to break. You know what I'm saying? I've been asked a lot, like, so what you going to do with your kids? Like, My kids aren't gonna be indoctrinated by me. They're gonna be liberated by me. There's not a thing I'm not gonna be willing to teach them, and I understand how to teach. I know how to get from. I know how to take. I literally. I've been doing this shit. I've been doing this podcast for a long time, but all my life, and it's when I learned the power of influence versus manipulation. All my life, I've been able to take people from the level of belief to the level of understanding. That's why motherfuckers don't argue with me, because we're not arguing about belief. We're arguing about understanding. And I can stand on my understanding far more than you can stand. I've literally changed motherfuckers' minds in the middle of the conversations and have a motherfucker say, I never thought about it like that. I know you didn't. You know why? Because that's an antithesis to what you believe in. Motherfuckers still don't even see the degrees of separation between me and them. And I respect the degrees of separation. So I meet you at your level. I come to where I know you believe in, and I get you to the knowledge. I get you to the experience. I get you to the understanding. You think, watch my kids be some bad motherfuckers, y'all. They're not going to believe in shit because they're going to understand everything that's in their mind. And they're going to learn how to understand everything in mind. We're not taught that. You know why? Because the moment we question something, it's because I said so. You shut down right there. That's not a valid reason. That gives me something to believe in. Now I have to trust the source. And then when you can't trust the source will make you trust it. Imagine getting frustrated because you don't believe what somebody's saying. You're trying to get them to, yo, you just got to believe what I say. I don't. Because that's poisonous. But that's indoctrination. But that is the level of that all derived from the sense of belonging that we don't want white people to feel a certain way about us. We can't accept the rejection. Like, white people hate us, Asian people hate us, and any other ethnicity, they hate us. There's a racial slur for black people in every culture. They all hate us. When we accept their rejection and it makes us love ourselves, you feel me? The sky's the limit. Like, since getting to my point, like, I'm different. I've been myself for 7 years now. Since 25, that's when I kind of accepted and said, you know what? It is what it is. And I've evolved, y'all, like on a whole different level. When people be like, yo, you just like, I was already an intelligent person, but it took, when I accepted the right side of my brain and I accepted all the 7 intelligences and applied them, I learned faster. It's almost easy. It's like, you know what I mean? Because you go through the process, and then now I understand how the mind works, belief, knowledge. I can do a whole bunch of shit real fast. Now I'm just about to have fun with life. Y'all are gonna see some amazing shit coming from me soon. Like, I'm about to start learning languages. I got time to learn languages again. I'm about to get studying again. Like, watch. Y'all gonna see how I break shit down. I'm gonna come with a whole new bag for the remainder of this podcast. It's time to level up and shit. But I need my people to understand, like, you got to learn how to belong to yourself. I can't belong to what hates me. I never will. I can't try. Because that's going to make me hate my motherfucking self. And as black people, we have reached a point where we hate our motherfucking selves. And we be thinking we're the token. Because we be the token that we that one anomaly that is okay, that is justified. So we're the good black. So then when we meet other people in that black space, it's hard. Like, when I went to the master's program and I told you, she got a black girl's attitude. The fuck is that? You black. Not anymore. Not anymore. Not any motherfucking more. A lot of motherfuckers started being black the moment they walked into college. Oh, I gotta go to PWI. Cause that, when I've heard people say that a 4.0 of the PWI is better than a 4.0 to the HBCU, and all of them, and HBCUs have to be accredited by the same accreditation standards as PWI. I'm like, nigga, you stupid. You stupid as fuck. You literally just said that white ice is better than black ice. What I receive from being around white people will always be better than what I receive from being around black people. But the culture is about stealing from fucking black people, ironically. I'm gonna go to end it there, yo, because I gotta get ready for Iwi. Y'all go kiss your babies, man. Make sure they eat their vegetables and teach our kids to learn to belong to themselves first. There's a lot of things that we gotta heal as adults before we have kids, or even if we already have them, we gotta heal with it so we don't pass them on. You feel what I'm saying? There's a lot of things I'm not upset with my parents. I'm not upset with my grandparents for the shit that they did. Like I said, I had to come to terms with the fact that my mom and my pops were the same motherfucker. And I didn't realize it until I had actually got a chance to, you know what I mean? They just had different expressions. I used to criticize my dad, hear him say, the white man won't let me have anything. Okay. Well, my mother was on the perspective, the white man's only going to let you have something if you behave the way he needs you to behave. Professionalism. They were saying the same shit a different way. I didn't catch it because I'm like, I'm not talking to my dad. I'm not talking to my mom about this. Like, I'm looking at it from a different perspective. Now I see the whole totality of it. We still want to be accepted by white people. The difference is my dad says he didn't accept their rejection. He just said, fuck your acceptance. He didn't necessarily accept the rejection. He went down the behavior of, I'm going to behave the absolute worst. My mama said, I'm going to behave the absolute best. So mama stayed in the church and shit. Pops didn't go to church and shit. Mama, you know what I mean? Like, she's on the religious side. My pop's an alcoholic. It's different dynamics, but it's the same shit. I'm going to behave only in the way that you permit me to behave. I have accepted rejection, said, fuck all y'all behavior. I do what I want to do. Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom. The freedom is I'm able to deal with the consequences of shit. So when it comes to our kids, let's not indoctrinate them anymore. If you're going to send them to the education system, understand you sending them to play the game. Get the codes, get the messages, but know what you stand on and then come out this motherfucker. I went into med school, got the codes. You feel me? I could have finished. I could have done everything, but I started to see some shit that wasn't right for me. It didn't sit right with me as a person. And I stand on what the fuck I stand on. My sister told me, she said, I always do that. You feel me? Our kids are coming up in a whole different space and they need that energy. They can't be indoctrinated. You feel me? They got to learn how to play this game. I went into the markets. I learned it, brought it back to my people. Went into the plant-based nutrition and shit. Went it, got it, brought it back to my people. You feel me? I understand what this game is and I understand how it's supposed to be. And I've accepted their rejection. And in accepting their rejection, I've learned what they hated most about me, which made me love that most about myself. And I realized that that's what I was supposed to be loving the whole motherfucking time. You feel me? And we need to implant that in our babies earlier. You feel me? I get a lot of us are educated and everything like that, but we need a detox because a lot of us are indoctrinated. And we're torn between a self-hatred and a world hatred view of who we are. You feel me? We love that we're accepted, but we hate that they don't accept us collectively. So we still try to, and we hate that they don't accept us collectively. Therefore, we hate who refuses to be accepted by them. This nigga, this, that, and the third, or you Conan, or you fake woke, or whatever the case may be. Whoever deviates from the acceptance that they have is who we try to demonize too. Don't even realize we doing it. Y'all seen the shit? Ain't nobody trying to hear that shit, Sharif. We laugh at the reformed prison inmate who started reading books. Oh, you came out trying to use big words and shit. You feel me? We don't even realize we act just like the white people that have been. I'm gonna leave it there. Go kiss your babies. Make sure they eat their vegetables. I gotta get ready for this episode. So peace, love, knowledge, and freedom. I'm gonna see y'all all on the next one. I'm out. I said that shit backwards in the motherfucker. Let me make sure I stay consistent. Go kiss your babies. Make sure they eat their vegetables, and I'm gonna see y'all all on the next one. Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom. I'm out.